Yeah.
Okay, we're now live, and our host today is Adriana.
Hello, everyone. We're just tuning in again for Thirsty Thursdays. We've got our part 4 tonight, which is schools closed. But we wanted to talk about the nitty gritty of remote learning. So we're very lucky. We've got our usual stars in the house. We've also called in some guest ones as well around the world. So let's start again by just saying hi to everybody in our wow moment. That would be great.
Hi, everybody.
James.
So my wow moment was Zoom. It's just so much better than Google Meet. It's the only thing I miss is subtitles, but I don't think the kids actually use that function. But being able to have those breakout rooms, it's fantastic. Being able to mute and unmute people at will is important. Being able to put people in a waiting room, a sin bin if needed, is really helpful. And being able to have the background of your choice if you've got the right computer. Now that is quality. I liked being in Bali, so I was in Bali today. It made me feel good, even if it was just pretend. And just the sharing of screen options are just so much better and so much more sophisticated, easy to share things and easy to share various different tables. So for me, it was Zoom all the way. Loved it.
Yay, Zoom! Neil, anything from you?
Yeah, it was just how well all the staff are sort of taken to going online with all the conferencing they're doing. Some are going to Zoom now, but
okay.
most are still on Hangouts, but they're slowly swapping across because of the better options that you've got. So it's really nice as they're getting better and better. So it's really nice to see.
Good. Excellent. Okay, so where am I looking now? We've like swapped and changed. Sethi, hello to Sethi.
Hello everyone. Yeah, my wow moment. I'd say just how everyone's come together. Really, when you look online, when you look across any social media platform, everyone's really gotten together. It's the entire community is just sharing resources, sharing links, ideas, everything. So I'll sort out my mic, by the way.
Excellent. Ralph, hello to you.
Hi there. Thank you, Adriana, for hosting Thirsty Thursday. I had great moments with Zoom. And sadly, I can't work the backgrounds with my Chromebook. Otherwise, you wouldn't see this mess here behind me. And I would be on a nice beach. So in a Chromebook, it doesn't work, but it's awesome. I also like Zoom very much. And I used Zoom and had a great moment where we used quizzes, and the students really liked it, seeing their rankings moving up. But my highlight was just today when we had a staff meeting. We used Google Meet for that, and everybody was in there, all teachers and all admin, all the Thai owners as well. And somehow having so many people, adults there at once, that was the first time for me, even though these shows are very exciting. It gave me a weird sense of unity that everybody is listening, everybody's here to be strong through this crisis. And that was my moment, I think. So it wasn't necessarily students, even though it was very exciting. So it was a staff meeting on Google Meet.
Thank you. Oh, that's good. It's good that you can use any platform. Doesn't always have to be Zoom.
Yeah, we don't ask you to use only one here.
Very good. Yeah. Yeah, we've got our special VIP guests, Zoom versus Meet all the time. And so I really want to say hello to my lovely friends who have been so kind to tune in from around the world. And so I'm going to introduce you, say a little bit about you. And if you could give a wow moment from this week. It could be anything. It doesn't have to be teaching relating, just something you want to share that's all good and positive. That'd be great. So Mary, I'm going to start with you. You're coming from New Zealand. We talked together in Malaysia, so it's lovely to see you. Do you want to share a wow moment with us?
I'm going to throw in quite a different wow moment to a teaching one. I'm currently staying with my parents, and we're all in lockdown together. And my mother is 75, and she has just found the joys of bowls. But of course, she's missing that social interaction with the other people that she goes bowling with. And the last couple of days, it's been really lovely. And they've gone a little bit old school, and they're using Messenger. But she gets on at 10 o'clock every morning and has coffee and a chat with her bowling friends who are 70, 80, and I believe there's one lady in her 90s. And I think it's sort of kind of quite a neat way of them connecting, you know, through this time, and kind of lovely seeing people, dare I say, of their era, you know, embracing the technology so they can spend some time together. So I thought that was pretty awesome.
Yeah, definitely. Brilliant. Thank you. And we're going to go along to Helen Harper. Again, our link is, we used to teach together in Malaysia, and we've remained great friends ever since. But Helen, I put you on here because you are now working from home 4 or 5 years. So you're going to give us a long-term perspective of it. And right, but I'd love to hear a wow moment from you.
More of an ongoing wow moment, I suppose. Just really in terms of social media and how much it's brought my local community together. I've been in a neighborhood app for maybe a couple of months. It's been running for a while. Somebody posted a note through my door a while back about it. And at the moment, it's just filled with people saying, I'm able to go out and do somebody's shopping. I can walk your dog. You just need to put your number on here. I'll get in touch with you. And I think the possibilities for social media to really help out people who aren't able to go out, not just in these times, but in any times, is really quite extraordinary. It's good to see.
Yeah. Oh, brilliant. That's really great. Because you're in England at the moment, aren't you? That's
yes,
where your base is. Yeah. Okay. And Geeta, hello to you. Again, the link is... We used to teach, but you, oh my goodness, lovely. It's hard to keep up with you. You're here, there, and everywhere, sharing your wealth of knowledge. So currently, you are in India. That's right.
In Mumbai, yes. Yeah.
Yes, in Mumbai. And so, before we get into the nitty gritty of it, I'd really love it if you could share a wow moment.
Well, actually, this last week, I've started a new blog together with a group of friends around the world. And it kind of started because I was just thinking about all of the things that were being posted, and I'm a history teacher. So for me, it's really important to know that this period of time is going to be documented in some way. And I started looking at social media, and I thought, okay, well, there's great little memes, there's a lot of little funny jokes, but there's really not a lot of information about how people are really thinking. And so what I wanted to do is, because I have so many people around the world who I know, I decided I wanted to create a blog where everybody could kind of record their thinking of what's happening, that they would have a safe place to go where they wouldn't be continually questioned. They wouldn't have to worry about likes. They wouldn't have to worry about dislikes. Basically, it would just be to go and share what's going on. And I was thinking, well, I could do that on my own, but to do it on my own, it would be the same thing every day. This is my apartment. This is what I'm doing. But if we're all sharing from different cultural contexts, it just makes it a little bit more interesting in that sense. And I've had some really great responses from friends. And right now I have about 26 people who have said they're going to write. It's only been going for about 4 days, so it's taking a while to get posts up. But it's really interesting to see the stories, and also as I've been communicating with.
You suddenly dropped out there?
Okay, that's good. I put the link through our YouTube channel, which is Thirsty Thursdays, and someone's given me a hashtag to remind everybody if they tweet out, #ThursdayPD. Is that right, Ralph?
That is correct. Thank you very much. Just share this out to anybody who wants to join in watching now. Thank you very much.
Awesome. And what we find as well is we get a lot of views afterwards. So, you know, the love keeps going in the next few days, definitely. So because we've only got Helen here for a few more minutes, I'm going to jump across to you if that's okay, so we can let you go off to what you need to be doing. But the reason why I got you here is I would really like our viewers to get a taste of what it's like, because, you know, yours is a conscious choice working from home, but I am amazed at how you can be so disciplined about it. So I'd be really keen if you were able to give practical tips to how to keep that discipline and focus going.
Well, different things work at different times, and different things work for different people. When I started this, I was very, very strict. Very sort of, I will get up at 9 o'clock in the morning and I will work until 12:30, and I'll have a break for lunch, and then I'll continue working until 5 o'clock. Really try to make it purely business hours, as if I was going to work in a normal office or back at school or whatever. And I kept that up religiously for a good year. And then the following year, I went completely in the opposite direction, where I was just like, I don't care. I'm just going to work when I feel like working. I don't feel like working today. I'm not working. I don't have to work. It's fine. And it took me quite a long time to find a sort of happy medium where I'm not doing so much work or pushing myself so hard in one day on my own that I burn out, but I'm not taking it too easy either. So I set myself daily targets. So you were talking, I think earlier, about 3,000 words a day before we went live. That currently is my target. That's sort of my happy place right now. I could do 4. It wouldn't be too much of a push to do 4, but I'm not sure I could sustain that for a couple of months. So I feel like I know where my sweet spot is in terms of this is how much I can do in a day and not burn out. And I try very hard to maintain a proper routine still. So I get up, I'll take the dog out for a walk, which we can still do in the UK at the moment. Fingers crossed, it will continue. Then I'll come back, and I know that I'm better off working in the morning, that by the time the afternoon comes, I'm less productive. So I try and get as much done in the morning as possible, and then leave the less focused tasks for the afternoon, which I can then push back if I don't necessarily have to do them.
I have a question there, if I quickly may interrupt. You said 3,000 words, and my idea or question was, doesn't sometimes 1,500 words feel better or more important if you make certain advances than more words?
Absolutely, yeah. And some words are harder to come by than others. When I'm really involved in the story, the words come really, really quickly, and I can write lots and lots and lots in a very short space of time. And sometimes I want to take more time over it. So on average, I can probably do 1,000 words an hour. So you'd think that's only 3 hours of work. But sometimes that'll take me 6 hours. Sometimes it'll take me 2. So that works better for me than saying I'm going to work for set amounts of hours, if that makes sense. But I was going to say, as with anything, obviously there are days when I'm not feeling it. I don't want to sit down. I don't have the ideas, or I do have the ideas and just being particularly lazy. And there are lots of online tools that you can use that will really kind of push that forward. I might be preaching to the converted here. I'm not sure what you guys use. But one that I find really helpful is a Pomodoro timer, as in the tomato. So you can set it up on the internet really easily. So 20 minutes sustained writing, nothing but writing, not looking at anything. And then however long, maybe 5 minutes break of doing nothing. Not going to make it a cup of tea or wandering around the house or whatever, just not, and then back in 20 minutes. And that kind of, sometimes those really short bursts help a lot. Other things, a lot of authors groups that I'm in will join together virtually for a similar sort of thing for sprints. So in a Facebook group, someone will say, okay, I'm going for a writing sprint, and other people will join in. So then we'll spend 30 minutes and everybody's shh, and then you come back as a group. So you've almost kind of got peer pressure as well, forcing you to keep going, which works.
It's worth a lot.
Yeah. The interesting thing is that I brought you in to sort of talk from the teacher's perspective, but now I'm thinking from the student's perspective, like how many of these skills are we making our students aware of. We're just kind of saying, right, I'll see you for 10 minutes and then go off and do your work. But, you know, it's easier said than done, isn't it? What skills are we saying? Like, right, 25 minutes solid, 5-minute break, you know, that kind of thing. We need to be very specific, perhaps, with our students.
A lot of times the teacher is representing the force to work, and the student maybe is like, oh, you know, they feel overwhelmed. I'm not really ready for that. And so then the teacher's on the other side. But if we take time to teach the right techniques, then we're actually with the student versus their overwhelm. You know, like we're on the same side.
I'm starting to see the real benefit of synchronous learning. For example, I can see when the students are typing and when they're about finished with a task, especially if you combine Zoom, which I love, but with actual Google Docs, because you can see what's going on with both at the same time. And I think that's really helpful, and encouraging the students to be comfortable to work on video, because then you can see when they're working or when they're not. I think that's really helpful.
What did you say the timer was? Sorry, I just want to put it in the Pomodoro.
Pomodoro.
I'm probably pronouncing it wrong. It's like the tomato.
Yeah.
Like the
tomato, or tomato.
I'm going to put it there, and if it's wrong, then so be it.
Pomodoro. Pomodoro.
Okay, it's there now. It's for everyone to read.
Okay.
Any other tips, Helen? Before
hopefully that's the correct spelling.
We'll see. Any other tips, Helen, before I let you shoot off?
Mostly just about self-discipline. You need to try and not be too hard on yourself, but not be too easy on yourself either. And everybody is different. I find I can get distracted very easily if somebody emails or messages in and it pops up. So working on ways to maybe block that or ignore it, and unless it's something very important. So, yeah.
It's a very good point. I set the challenge for our 14-day lockdown here that I would not leave the house. And unfortunately, I had to leave the house today to go and pick up a parcel, nothing important. But really, my challenge was to stay in my pajamas for 14 days. You know, change my pajamas, but So I feel like I failed. But tomorrow's another day and new pajamas. So there's hope for me.
That's my final tip before I go.
Yes.
Which we might disagree with, but staying in your pajamas doesn't help long term. If you get dressed as if you're going to work, it makes you much more productive. It sounds weird, feeling like you're actually at work instead of in your pajamas on your sofa. Really helps.
I know. You're right. I know. Yeah. Brilliant. Okay. Well, thank you so much for tuning in, Helen. I very much appreciate it. So is this going to be part of, you know, perhaps your new book? Just thinking, you know, your new book could basically move online, the whole online world.
Yes.
Just potential there.
Yeah.
All right, then, lovelies. We'll let you get off then. See you. Thank you. Oh, bless. So good. She's so right about the pajamas thing. Oh, my goodness. Yeah. So true.
Of course, you're going to pay zero attention to that, right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, definitely.
I mean,
I'm calling it athleisure wear now anyway. So,
that's
you
right,
know. And for a split second, I thought, could I go out to the Post La Joux in my pajamas? But no, I couldn't.
It's in parts of England and Scotland, you probably could, you know, 10 a.m., etc.
Yeah, I did live in England for 15 years, so maybe I could get away with it. Yeah. Okay, so let's go down to Mary and Gita. So what we wanted to do for this one, because Eric and I were really having a good discussion about it a couple of weeks ago, is we wanted to break it down to nitty gritties. We wanted to be able to offer practical, tiny steps to teachers new to the game, or, you know, maybe just refresh it, because I'm getting a lot of information, but I'm a bit overwhelmed by it all. And I really just want that day-to-day, like the get out of your pajamas and actually look like you're going to work. That's a good practical tip. Thank you, Helen. So, I send it over to you. What gifts of guidance do you have for us?
I've only been doing it for 2 weeks now. So
Good.
I'm new at it too. The thing for me, the first thing was getting the students to mute their microphones, but it depends upon the group though too. So I have a group of grade 6s, grade 7s, and they're just hyper when they walk into the room, right? In school, let alone online. And so for them, that's really important that they have that. But then my 9th graders, I don't want that because I only have 4 students. So it's very difficult for us to mute because then nothing's going to happen there. So we have to have the mics on all of the time. So I think it's a lot of it is you have to adjust to the group that you have and just make sure that you're meeting their needs and your needs as the teacher as well, and find that balance. And it takes a little time, and you have to be patient with yourself with that as well. So
yeah. And a lot of it was talking about etiquette. We just went on and on about meeting etiquette. You know, face to face, would we be talking over the top of each other? Face to face, would we be pushing someone out of the meeting room? Well, then it doesn't change online. Stop doing it. So it's establishing the boundaries.
My 6th graders would be talking over each other in the class anyway, regularly. So if they have discussions, and I've only done this for 1 week before I had them online as well. So I haven't had the opportunity to teach them my expectations either. So that's a little bit of it too. So
I'm curious, like, is it because you talk about your expectations? What about the school? Has the school set expectations in any of these areas? Because I know a lot of schools really haven't.
Yeah.
Did you catch that?
I think Geeta froze for a bit. She's really thinking hard about that particular one. Yeah. Just give her some thinking time. She'll be back.
Okay,
no, you're right,
I'll take it on Geeta's thing. Our school actually set up a full website on this with very clear expectations, because we got about 2-3 weeks notice in Malaysia before we had to get on. And obviously I had a team of experts behind me showing me exactly the way forward. So, you know, we picked it up real quick. Team experts, by the way, is you guys. Yeah, you know that.
Yeah, I had a feeling.
Okay.
Just check.
Thanks.
Yeah, who are those experts? Yeah, I mean, we really lent heavily on all the expertise from all of the people in China and Korea, and I think that really helped. Neil, what about in your school? How have things been?
Well, like you said, you know, we had the experts to fall back on and take advice from, and you know, taking a bit from different schools to see what worked, what didn't work, but giving teachers options was the big thing as well. Not just saying, you know, you're sticking to this software, you're sticking to this, that's it. Because where we are, some of our local teachers are in quite remote areas, so they can't, you know, they can't access the Wi-Fi. They're using their mobile phones as hotspots, which you know aren't 100%. So we've got a variety of things, you know, and I tend to worry when a teacher's not on, not because they're not teaching their class, but are they okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think a lot of our teachers at the minute, because we're asking them, are you okay? They think we're just checking up. You know, are you online? Are you teaching where you're meant to be? But it's more of a case of we're checking if you're okay first before we worry about the class. So I found that quite an interesting sort of like over the first, so like this is our first week. So that's been quite interesting.
And Neil, can you just tell us your location, because it's not on your thing?
Sorry, I don't know why. Surabaya in Indonesia, just over the road from Bali, so I don't necessarily have to put a background on there.
Yeah, well, I mean, as I say, I really enjoyed my trip to Bali. Have you done the cycle from the volcano down? I loved it.
Cycling? No, I don't understand what you're saying.
Right.
I have a car.
Oh, no, this is freewheeling.
Can you drive up? Can you drive up and down the volcano? That sounds more fun. I just got a message from Geeta. Her internet went down, which is why she...
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, one of the troubleshootings.
about using your own whatever technology works for you. I mean I like that. I like to have some freedom, and I feel like I'm teaching 10th grade, and I don't really have to wonder, can these kids handle switching between Meet in one class and Zoom in another. But I have seen
they
online,
can, by the way, no problem.
yeah, of course, yeah. But I've seen some parents, maybe teachers, like just saying that, well, they're getting a lot of feedback. Teachers getting feedback maybe from parents or something that's that there's a lack of consistency to the point of being a problem. And I don't really know the backstory there, but I know that that's one sentiment that's out there too.
I mean, for me, whether you're going with Zoom or you're going with Google Meet or something entirely, you get a link. It set you up in a channel.
Yeah.
And
I would have to say that, yeah, probably is not a problem.
I mean, I think the consistency is the expectations and things, and I think the website we set up did help with that. But we found problems same as anybody else. And I think some synchronous learning, it's not necessarily about the learning, it's about staying in touch with your kids. And my Year 7 tutor group, I only get to see them twice a week now, and that's all the personal contact they're getting. That's going to change next week, but I felt it wasn't enough. They need to see their teachers a bit.
And I think is key is that don't be afraid to change it. Like don't just focus on what you no, this is what we've agreed. No, it doesn't work. Change it.
Yeah.
It's got to evolve, and I think that's the point of this, the nitty gritty. And another thing I discovered was that simple stuff like I'm back to using PowerPoint for presentations, but then using workbooks ready-made in Google Docs so the kids can follow along while I'm on Zoom. So those kids who have got internet connections, they've still got the basic files and things ready for them.
Yeah. And what I would say as well is that the one thing we did say was don't force new stuff on teachers, because our teachers were in a spin a couple of days beforehand because they felt they had to take on, they were in Hangouts then, as all of a sudden they're introduced to Meet. All these other things just kept on being thrown at them, and it was overload. So it's just saying to them, just stick with what you know and then build on it little by little. For some people, it will be a steep learning curve, and that's great. You're on the curve. But for others, it'll just be like, well, I'll just do what I know and then build on that a little bit more. Hi, welcome back, Geeta.
Sorry.
No trouble at all. I was waiting for an opportunity to speak anyway.
Can I just
I didn't sabotage.
Can I just pop down to Mary, because it is like now 2:30, bless you. Could you share the story of when you found out that New Zealand was going into lockdown? It's a pretty good story.
Things are a little bit unique for me being a reliever because obviously I'm in and out of different schools and different classrooms, but I do have 2 days a week working for one school global, and they're actually as a school, they are literally global. They have campuses all over the world, and they are probably streets ahead of most schools in terms of their online platforms. They've been doing it for 10 years or more in secondary. However, I have worked for them before. I worked for them before I went to Malaysia, but in the primary section. So, we didn't have those same online platforms, but certainly in secondary they did. So what happened with me is I went in on Monday, and I've been teaching year 7, 8, 9 and 10. Technology of all things. So quite a change for me. So one day I might be teaching year 10 technology, and the next day I'm in a different school teaching 5-year-olds. So I had a class of year 9s at from what time is it? At roughly 1:30 till 3 o'clock on Monday, and the children could see out the window that some children were packing up their bags instead of doing PE and making a beeline inside the building. So of course that took a little bit of settling down, and the next minute there was the announcement that schools were closing. So basically we had an assembly, and a brief assembly, and the students all went home. And then we started, obviously had a quick staff meeting afterwards, and the information started filtering through that not only were schools closing, but we were jumping straight to level 3, and then within 48 hours we'd be at level 4, which is a complete lockdown, and we will be in lockdown for 4 weeks. So I've been hastily handed a laptop and have had to sort of get my head and my thinking around how I do this with how do I do technology with year 10s when we were already partway through some projects and that kind of thing. And just for me, I think the challenge has been, looking at planning and the ideas that I had and thinking, how do I now connect with these children where I've only been going in over, I mean, we obviously in New Zealand, we have a January to December year. So the schools have only been going 7, 8 weeks, whatever it's been. And of that, I only came in sort of in about week 3. So I've had maybe 4 or 5 lessons with these students. Some of them know me from before, and I have taught the year 10s, but below that, the 9s, 8s and 7s just remember me as being somebody who was in the school, probably somebody they got sent to when they got in trouble. So
good rapport then. But that's quite a traumatic way to break it to the school. I mean, like in my school, we at least finished the day, even though we knew, and then, Malaysia kind of announced it and gave everyone sort of, 48 hours or something, but not sort of everybody get out to the hall. That's quite a...
It was literally 2:30 and the teacher appeared at the door. And for me, I'm a mum. I have a 13-year-old daughter and a 23-year-old. Obviously, the 23-year-old's fine. She can, she's doing her own thing. But I was then needed to be in meetings and things like that. And I was planning on picking her up from school. And obviously, I didn't want her loitering around her high school of 1,200 or 1,300 students and so on. So, the complexity, I think, that came up straight away for us was how do we take care of the staff, particularly those with at home or very young children. A lot of our staff are saying, gosh, what do I do if I'm supposed to be online with these children and my 2-year-old's wailing in the background and I have to go and take care of them. So, for us, that's been a lot of the conversation. And I'd have to say I was really impressed with how the school managed that. They actually said, right, tomorrow's Tuesday. We don't want any lessons tomorrow. The kids won't be doing any lessons. Nothing's happening tomorrow. Give everybody at least 24 hours to start picking up pieces and figuring out what they're going to do with their family and maybe get those extra groceries they might need before the complete lockdown. That kind of thing was really, really, I think it's really important, is looking after the staff and sort of, dealing with those things.
That's a very good point. Yeah. And in New Zealand, I was reading, so 20% of households don't even have access to Wi-Fi or devices. Yeah. So it's that extra thing where it's like, let's go online, and you think, well, that's great for most of us, but
and that's what there has been possibly not enough in the media, I think, conversation around that, about that. The divide between, it's just made it even so much bigger and more difficult to deal with. And even in secondary schools, I was really interested. My daughter goes to a local state school here, but they've been online and, I can go on any time and see what her results are, or even if she's got an overdue library book, by the time she got home from school, I was getting emails and communication from the school about, what would be happening with lessons. And it's a digital school. My eldest daughter went through there, and obviously she's been out for 5 years. And that 5 years, I couldn't believe the changes in the school. I went in on the first day over the holidays to get a uniform. And I said, I need to buy stationery, thinking, here we go, several $100 to get textbooks and goodness knows what else. And they said, no, we're a digital school. We don't have none. So everything is done online with the kids. So that has made the transition for her so much easier. Whereas some of the teachers, when we were talking on Monday before we all sort of packed down and went home, were talking about how, one of them said when my child was sick, a bunch of photocopied textbook stuff turned up in the post for her. So it's just, it does show that huge divide between schools themselves and what they can and can't do, and how they've, there was no crystal ball, but it's just interesting how some schools have already gone down this path, and this transition has been very easy for them. But even within them, there will be students who can't access that at home as easily.
Mm.
But New Zealand
I mean,
has a lot of, unlimited Wi-Fi for every home and things like that. So, to try and ease some of that.
Yeah, see that. Yeah.
mean,
it is that kind of thing. Sorry, I just want to say very quickly, it makes you appreciate being in the international teaching field when you hear things like that, the digital divide and we have children who didn't have access to devices, but we can easily pass them devices from what we've got in school, and so that it doesn't become that issue and stuff. I don't miss state teaching. Sorry.
It was.
I mean, I
Sorry,
think the
James.
divide is pretty bad. I was just going to say, Neil, what about your school? How bad is the digital divide?
Ours isn't too bad actually, because we are, most of our students, 99.9% come from wealthy families. So if anything, the teachers are the ones who have got that divide. They're the ones that come from the poorer areas. But I must admit, our school has stepped up. They are, giving money to the local teachers for using their own devices and things like that. So they have stepped up to the plate there, which is really good.
And what about you, Geeta?
We don't have a divide at all. I think the larger issues we have is that our students are English language learners, and so some of the materials, if they're not understanding what's going on in the lesson, it's hard for me to gauge because I'm not able to get the same visual cues immediately that I would in the classroom. And so that's more where the divide comes in with the level of English. And,
I assume the same is true for you, Eric.
Yeah, we're doing pretty well with that. We had 5 teachers saying this one student just doesn't have a webcam working. We know we can solve this problem. Just one.
How many weeks has it been now, Eric?
Sorry?
How many weeks has it been for you, Eric, now?
We just had spring break, or we're in the middle of spring break right now. We had 4 weeks before. We officially have 1 week after, but who knows? Yeah, I'm really worried about my play. So we'll see.
I think you can do it on video, mate. I think you can do it on video.
Yeah. We're gonna do a Minecraft play.
That'd be awesome.
Cool. Yeah.
Make sure you take a video of that. We'd like to see it. That would get far more views on YouTube than your actual play.
Yeah.
I want to go back to just because I remember we said at the beginning that we wanted to have a few clear tips that we can share. So if I could just go around, Mary, I know you're new to this, but if we could, even if it's just a question to our expert panel, in terms of I really like that you mentioned support of the teachers first and foremost, because I think that's really important. But any tips that you would give, some real clear points that you would offer, or anything we can share for you?
I think I'm probably, anybody who's viewing this, I'm probably very much in the same boat as them in terms of, I've yet to actually get on for my first Zoom lesson because I do Monday and Tuesday, and obviously those days gone this week, and then the government has brought forward our school holidays to 2 weeks early, so we actually go on holiday as of Friday. I do have one thing that did come up, and I'd be really interested in people's thoughts on this. Was, like everybody, I've seen our government has been very, very clear about not panic buying and toilet paper, and we went into lockdown at midnight last night, and I live close to a very busy main road, and I woke this morning to hear zoom 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 of cars, and on the news, we're supposed to be in complete lockdown, and here's people walking the streets, and you see it on the news for the UK. My question is, how do we take this massive global event that's happened, and how do we teach our kids to do it better when they're older? How these people who somewhere along the line, somebody missed the message on teaching people, and our government, and the big message they keep saying is be kind. you know, I think it's missing somewhere, and I want to make sure that any children, whether I'm a reliever or as I move on to my next teaching role, when I'm in a classroom with children, you know, you have them a little bit more, perhaps a little bit more influence over them. You know, how do we teach that? How do we use this as an opportunity to make the world a better place? I know that sounds really twee, but
no, that's a really good point. But I see it changing already. I mean, I'm all over social media. We have a local Facebook page where everybody tells everybody off for walking down the street or playing golf in the park, or, you know, not standing 2 meters from each other in D-Market, our local supermarket. But more and more, the rhetoric is changing, you know, that, I mean, tonight we had one of those make some noise at 8 p.m. Last week we did make some noise at 8 p.m. and my neighbours all said, shut up. This week, my neighbours made a little bit of noise with me.
Okay. Nice.
So you can already see, you know, cabin fever is like, right, what can we be doing? There's a man that's driving around taking photos, if we want two of us waving, that kind of thing. We're all telling each other where the eggs are and which supermarket and when the bread's coming into the Speed Mart, that kind of thing. So we are coming together as a community, but it's just taking that little bit of time. We have to get over that, you know, the warriors who are just, you know, telling tales on everybody. But I can see it gradually. People are taking photos of birds, which you never would have had before. So we just have to remember it, don't we? The lesson needs to be remembered, perhaps.
I do think these experiences teach, right?
Yeah. One of the things that's been really lovely in New Zealand has been, I don't know if you've heard about it or if it's gone everywhere, is the teddy bear in the window. People are putting a teddy bear in the window, or you know, if the window can't be seen from the road, somewhere that it can be on their front lawn or wherever, so that when children are getting really, really stir crazy, that they can drive around in their neighbourhood, not get out and socialise with anybody, and spot the teddy bears in the window, and just as sort of a social connection without actually talking to anybody. So those kind of things, you know, like you say, are really they're quite uplifting, and there's a website apparently you can go to, and people, you know, drop a pin, this is where I am, and you can see my teddy bear there, so people aren't driving around for 3 hours aimlessly and not doing
your neighbours telling you to shut up because you're making noise.
I just sort of think that it's sort of, you know, I grew up, you know, like most of us, you hear about World War II and these things that have happened through history, and we're in a historic moment right now, and so just thinking, how do we keep this alive in terms of a lesson for our students that
that's a really good point.
You know, so far away in their history that you know, something like this might be a really good connecting point. So
yeah, certainly for us, I think, right? Because I feel like this is going to revolutionize teaching, the world of work, but I think in a positive way. I think you know, this is going to really move it forward and maybe make those big changes that we haven't made before, because it's always been like that.
Yeah,
we've always done it that way.
The last thing I'll say, the other thing that struck me was the irony of whenever we have any kind of you know, be prepared for a natural disaster, you know, have you got your kit, have you got your, you know, spare water, because, you know, when the disaster strikes, all communication will go down, you won't be able to get anywhere, you won't be able to connect with people, and this has been the absolute opposite, that, you know, when this is struck, the opposite has happened. The communication has been the one thing that's been, you know, the saving grace for everybody, and the thing that binds everybody together and keeps certain things functioning. So
that's something in our school I've noticed, looking at the conversations, I'm in all the hangouts and things with the chats, the faculty talks are amazing. You know, they're literally almost minute by minute having these discussions amongst groups of people that wouldn't speak to each other for maybe 3 or 4 hours in a day. Never mind making contact every 5 minutes. And it's really nice to see.
Yeah.
Does anybody run staff meetings in their school online? I mean, I know who was it that said that Ralph, right, had a great staff meeting on Meet, but is that a regular thing? Because we haven't had one yet for our school, but I think it might be needed as a coming together.
It's difficult
We had
to do.
Sorry, go ahead, Eric.
A meeting half and half. It's hard to do one. So when we've got 10, 12 teachers that are in the school right now, where it's optional to be physically in the school, but even it's just hard to do it half and half. So I just go to my classroom and I'm in the meeting. Yeah.
Okay.
What were you gonna say, Sethi?
Yeah, we have check-ins. So there's per phase, you'll check in and your phase leader. But it's more, I'd say, for the teachers' sort of mental health and state of mind, because obviously being at an international school, most of the teachers are expats. A lot of them are single. They've only been here for a couple months. I can only imagine what they're going through, being locked up in an apartment, just day in, day out by themselves. I mean, for me, it's easier. I've got my 2 kids and I've got my wife, and so I'm not by myself. We're playing board games and we're having fun.
Yeah.
Okay, the kids go a bit crazy, but still, it's it's a good place to be. But I can imagine if you're all by yourself and you're stuck in a tiny little condo in downtown, then obviously that is not quite the same situation you're in then. So we do have these check-ins, and they've been really, really good. And it's just, obviously, you're also talking about the kids and you're talking about lessons, but it's really about connecting with colleagues and just making sure everyone's all right.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think we have to remember that the kids need that too, and that this is the thing that I'm feeling right now with my groups, is that they're feeling quite lonely and disconnected from their friends. They do have their families, but they've commented on how much they miss that actual physical contact.
One of our most popular activities has actually been a breakout challenge, which Adriana will remember. I actually took that. I took that from the Innovator Academy, and so I sent my classes a breakout challenge, opened a separate chat room just for them, and I said, "Look, figure it out." And so I was thinking, okay, how can I bring something of a sort of a social interaction to this digital space? And so we gave them a digital breakout. They had to solve it together. They had a separate chat room just for that breakout, and they had to figure it out by talking to each other, emailing each other, calling each other. And that really, that was incredibly successful.
Cool.
That's good. Someone just sent me something social-wise, but it could be relevant. So that house party app, I don't know. So we're going to have an online party with about 10 teachers, and I think it's things like, that Who Am I game, that sort of thing. So, and it's an app that you can play that just gets people together, which is, really nice. Yeah. Maybe I'll do it with you guys next week if it works. Yeah, definitely.
Cool.
I'm going to, we've got a little bit of time left, but I'm actually going to go through the list that Eric and I were talking about. And I just want to throw some questions at you and get some quick feedback as to what you think about, okay? So, dress code. What do you think about dress code when you're online with students? Go. Just a quick, what are you thinking? They should be dressed.
They should be dressed, yeah, and we should be dressed professionally also, just to show that we're there fully.
Okay.
My own personal rule is get up and get dressed and look professional.
Me too, Gita. Now that's my rule. It's my new rule tomorrow. Definitely.
I actually
Eric.
had students mention that dress code today when I was teaching. Yeah. And they went, "What is the dress code for teachers, Mr. Neil? You're wearing a shirt. Some teachers have got t-shirts on. What's that about?" And I was like, "Okay, that was quite perceptive."
Good. That's a good. Eric, do you have to Do you have to dress up as a teacher? Dress up like it's a costume. Do you have to dress up like a teacher?
I'm pretending to be a teacher this year. We don't really have a strict guideline about that, but I mean, everybody needs to be dressed appropriately. I think that I'd like to think the teachers are dressing professionally enough, but we had a guideline as far as the weeks when we were the week when we were in school and the students weren't. We were like, you can dress down some, but business casual, and then that's the only real conversation we've had about teachers, how they dress. So
because I originally wanted the students to wear, even if it was their PE shirt and their lanyard, just because we're taping it, and you know, I just wanted to make it really clear that it was a school
The
context.
same way
But
we could have an effect on adults. Yeah, I think that could be good for students too. I really do. Yeah.
If you have
okay.
that helps a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, and then it kind of reminds me of like, because there's the clothes, and then there's it just kids in bed. You know, like, oh my God, is this kid in bed? Are you realize it's class time? Get out of bed. You know.
Yeah,
geez.
the first day was like, oh no, turn your camera off. Yeah.
Well, I mean, we've set the same expectations as residential trips. So appropriate, doesn't have to be too formal. You know, it can be comfortable, but it needs to be different from your stay-at-home clothes.
Yeah.
So it's as if we're on a residential trip. So if you want to wear a t-shirt, okay, but maybe a plain t-shirt. No sort of, you know, writing all over it. Definitely no pajamas. No, none of that. And it's gone. I mean, it's gone really well. We've only had 3 kids, really. We had 2 in pajamas and 1 without a shirt. And they were asked.
Did you speak to the staff about that?
No, the kids
put a shirt on, Mr. So-and-so.
It was literally just turn their camera on, right, off you go, put on a shirt and come back. And they've never done it again. So it's just, I think if you set an expectation early on, then they're really good. Kids are really good.
I thought the expectation was set, like, do you come to school with no shirt on?
Yeah, well, that's what we told him. We literally went, well, would you come to school like that? And he had to think about it. And we're like, yeah, okay, go and get changed.
Okay. How long online each day? This is a big one. How long online? Let's start with teachers. How long online should teachers be?
We have a significantly reduced timetable. We do mainly asynchronous learning. We do keep a record of everyone checking in, and we expect every child to check in with at least 1 teacher a day. So because we have different teachers for different subjects, we keep a record of who they've checked in, and we keep a record by just jotting down our initials next to the child's name. And then if we see that someone hasn't checked in for that day, then the tutor will actually either ring them or send them an email and try to get a response. So we expect them to check in once a day, but it doesn't really, I mean, we don't expect them to check in everything, because we don't want to create that pressure, because obviously things are different at home as well, and it's hard enough for these families and kids. But we do keep on top of it, and we keep a record.
Okay, good. Do you keep that on Google Sheets?
Yeah, actually, I had it prepared to show, but obviously we're running out of time. But we've got our own timetables in terms of when we are available for drop-in sessions. So as a teacher, for example, I'll be available Monday from 9 to 10 for the year 6s.
Nice.
Then I'm available Monday from 12 to 1 for the year 7s. And so we all have a timetable like that, every single teacher. The students know that they come to those meetings online if they have questions or if they have anything that they're worried about. But then the work is set on a Monday morning between 9 and 10. So they have the entire week to schedule it all out when they're going to do the work. And if there's anything they don't understand, then they can plan to drop into those sessions. We do expect them to check in every morning with their form tutors. So that's different. So we do expect that. That's an expectation set. You will meet with your class teacher, because that's the most important meeting of that day. And then some children struggle with scheduling and planning their day. That's where they can then get support. But those drop-in sessions, that's for all the other subjects.
Yeah. Imagine a time when, if we came back to schooling, where we carried on letting them schedule their week. Mary, could you imagine that? You were doing it years ago in New Zealand, but could you imagine that where now we're asking them to manage their week online? Imagine if they came back to school and, we said, okay, let's carry on with that. You keep imagining it, because I don't know how that would work in practice. But So give me a rough figure. How long online each day would you say teachers are? Eric, give me a rough figure.
We're going from 8 to 2. Like we used to be ending at 4.
6
now we're
hours.
ending 2 hours earlier. I mean, so it's not that teachers have to be online. Different teachers are doing it differently. Basically, I see what you're saying, because I don't have classes that whole time. We moved from 70-minute classes to 50-minute classes, and it's up to the teacher as to how they handle it. A lot of times I'll go into a teacher's room. They have spent the first between 10 and 20 minutes online with the whole class, and then the rest of the time they've got a meet that's open, and the kids pop in when they need help with what they're working on. So that's pretty common.
Okay.
We have 2 1-hour sessions that we've got a meet open where they can pop in, but we are on call, as in email or text, during the school hours. So let's say that a colleague sends you an email, we do expect you to read that and respond in, don't take too long to respond, because we know you're at home and you might not have a live, and we respect that. Plan your lessons and do whatever you have to do and follow up, because obviously, because you're online, feedback is so incredibly important, and so your marking will take up a lot more time than it otherwise would, because you're hopefully marking a lot more and giving a lot more feedback. So we're trying to do that,
takes a lot longer.
but we limit it to, let's say, 1, maybe 2 hours of live online. The rest you're on call.
Cool. Yeah, James, how many hours online for you?
I did 4.5 today, so that was my longest day. We're literally doing, for an hour and 10 minutes we're doing an hour for Key Stage 4 and above, which is what I teach exclusively. So I'm on full timetable, and it's 10 minutes less than normal. I am letting the kids off and on sometimes, and sometimes I'm just staying on for that longer. But I agree with Seti, there's more preparation time, more marking time, because I've realized you've got to really take them through it slowly, with like having a Google Doc workbook, for instance, or in my case, one of my lessons comes with a presentation as well. Plus, sometimes I'm pre-recording videos, because then it's easier for them to follow it through in their own time. But I think it's, once you get used to it, it's taken about the same length of time as it would normally. But first few weeks has been a bit messy, especially when they canned all the IGs and A-levels. So I had to replan everything anyway, because I didn't want to do stuff that, was purely about exams. I wanted to make it more useful about programming and coding. Yeah.
Gita, how long online would you say you are at the moment, studying news?
We're on full timetable completely. They haven't kind of adjusted except for maybe a few minutes between classes, and they're finding that they get really tired. So I think they're going to have to change it a bit. When I'm teaching, I kind of plan so that we have time for just some downtime in the class as well, because I know they can't concentrate that long. But for my 6s and 7s, I only have 40 minutes total anyway. So but they have 10, 40 lessons, right? Or 8, 40 minutes a day.
Oh my gosh.
The primary
that's crazy.
To half a day of teaching, because it's for the little one. But the second one hasn't changed anything yet. I think the kids are going to break pretty soon if we're not careful though.
So Mary, you've heard it, 2 hours max, okay? 2 hours max a day. That's what we're saying. All right. You learn from these mistakes. Okay, so what else do we say here? So we talked a little bit about our class periods. Oh,
Adriana.
Ralph. Sorry?
Yeah. Ralph is on.
Okay. Hey, Ralph, how long online are you each day?
Well, it depends. We have, in middle school, we have changed the schedule to blocks, so all their lessons are combined into 1 or 2 sessions per week, but they can be pretty long. If I'm looking at it now, we have some language arts classes which go for 3 periods, but it's then up to the teacher to make sure that they are not always online or in front of a screen, and give them some other tasks, but reading from a book or I don't know, drawing a picture or something. In high school, we have we kept their normal schedule alive, so they are pretty busy the whole day until 2:30. For the students, it's pretty intense in high school, but then again, we all have to learn to throttle down our expectations, and I believe that the whole online learning is a whole skill set for everybody, for teachers and students to engage and see how the Zoom works and what does that meet and how do I share my screen here and what is the chat doing and why don't I see the message? Oh, I joined too late, or things like that. So we all learn a lot of more things than just what we should have been learning by curricula.
I mean, I think the key thing for all of us is, compared to a normal class, particularly if you're not teaching EAL, is you do have to slow right down. I've noticed that already, because otherwise kids will lose you very quickly. And you have to have visualizers, because, you know, otherwise the kids will lose you completely very, very quickly. You need to put up a lot more signposts.
Yeah.
When you say visualizer, do you mean like what Eric shared with us, with those like two cans and your mobile phone jutting out so that you could like write? That was brilliant. Well, so simple.
Yeah. I mean, I was thinking more just PowerPoint slides or whiteboard areas.
Yeah,
all
that
kind
too.
of stuff.
But those are multiple methods of the same thing.
The visualizer that we saw with the cans was a fantastic way to show a visual.
Yeah,
I love that.
I want to share one more thing which I came across today. We had a language art teacher approaching me today, how she could lock down the Chromebooks, because we are very lucky to have Chromebooks, and the unique feature for the Chromebooks is that you can lock down the Chromebooks using Google Forms. So they can't navigate away from the forms and are locked in there, but they could still use a mobile phone when they are at home. So our idea was we engaged them on their mobile phone with a Meet, so they have to switch on the video call, and that is so the teacher can help you.
It can support you better.
You can also
I must say, and a lot of the Facebook groups that I'm in, it's a lot of troubleshooting like that, and the kids work their way around it to do this, and the kids do that, and they manage to manipulate like this, and I just think, right, we need to be teaching a bit more integrity in our classes, because these kids are shutting down everything we're throwing at them.
And also, don't forget that the kids, our primary role at the moment is to be that community connection and be like the streamers, be like the guys that they watch for 2-3 hours, as Sethi suggests, and try to gently entertain and educate. I think try and treat it a little bit like holiday camp, in that we are trying to educate, but we're trying to entertain, and we're trying to keep that connection alive. And if we can do that, I think we're doing an amazing thing. Right, we've hit our time. Last tip.
Host, I'll call it, James. I'll call it.
I know you won't. I'll call it. I'm on the power.
You can go.
Doing it. You saw it, Eric, right? Yeah. Okay, everybody. I'm going to take a last word from everybody. So thank you, Mary. Is there anything you wanted to say before we say goodbye to you?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me here, and I've enjoyed listening to everyone's perspective. It's going to help me as well, so thank you.
Brilliant. More than welcome. Hope to see you again. Geeta from India via a lot of other places.
The same thing that Mary said. It's been interesting hearing the conversations and hearing what everybody else is experiencing, and you guys are ahead of us a little bit, so it's nice to learn from you as well.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you. Thank you. Ralph and Eric and James, is there anything you wanted to add before we say goodbye?
Just make sure you really do signpost the lessons much more clearly. Include Google Docs and include slides and include, PowerPoints and things. And just be aware that some apps are better than others at doing individual tabs. Actually, hats off to StreamYard. It is the best by far when it comes to screen sharing. Beats Zoom, and it also beats Google Meet by a long way. So I've actually gone back to PowerPoint because it allows me to have 3 or 4 things open at once, just because it's clearer on the windows. What I do like about Zoom is that it will pause you when you go off, which is definitely a function.
Yeah, in the meeting.
Just remember, chats are very, very transient in all of these apps. If you're not on at the time, you shouldn't use that as your kind of written record of anything.
Yeah, true. Eric?
Well, I am the supervisor of the yearbook club, and I was thinking that it's going to really suck if our yearbook looks the same this year as every other year. We got one huge problem to solve about how to, get it, because it's not going to make the publishing deadline. That's one thing. But I've been talking to our student leaders of the yearbook club about, this is a historical moment, and we want to make sure that that's reflected in our yearbook. And so we're going to ask, students to take pictures of, what captures this experience for them, what's the best thing, what's the worst thing, but something so that this moment is reflected in that kind of history as well.
Yeah, cool, definitely. Can we get to say goodbye to Sethi and Neil in the background, or we're just going to say goodbye to them?
I just wanted to say
probably.
Ralph, while we're moving, go.
We as tech enthusiasts are at a turning point of learning, and we must ensure that we, with our enthusiasm, do not forget mental health and social intimacy with other individuals to bridge this gap with just little video camera there. It takes a bit of knowing one another, and we shall take care to make that work. Yeah,
definitely. This is one of the highlights of my week.
Yeah,
meeting with you guys. Definitely. Yeah.
All right. I'm going to say goodbye.
How James is terrified of bringing us back. He's just terrified.
it takes time.
I'm going to say bye to everyone. Bye-bye.
Okay.
Bye, everybody. Bye.
Bye.